Hi guys, and welcome to the next part of the ICM T-34 build. And just before I button up the lower and upper sections of the tank before I spray it with this nice shade of Humbrol brown as a base coat, I just wanted to show you the interior here. I'm just going to scoot in close and give you a look. Just very quickly, as you can see down here, I've weathered the interior a little bit and I've scratched up just in front of the seats and given the whole thing a dusting over a very heavy dry brush of a muddy brown kind of thing, so that once this is sealed in, it should look quite convincing, hopefully. So the next step is to put the body halves together and we'll get the first coat of this base coat, this dark brown. Back in a moment. The next update on the ICM T-34 76, or not, as it turns out. This video was going to be the next update on the ICM. As you can see, we've got the nice dark brown undercoat chipping colour sprayed on over the body, which looks nice, looks good. Pleased with that. You'll see the slightly shiny bits. Those slightly shiny bits are hairspray, which I had just started doing today because this being an enamel colour took a bit longer to dry than an acrylic would, so had to wait for that to dry. I just started that today while I was watching a couple of bits on YouTube and set everything up and pulled out my my sort of sad, lonely, little used good old Chinese cheapy airbrush, which I haven't used in ages, but I do use from time to time. And as I thought it might be feeling a bit neglected, I pulled this out to decant some hairspray and spray some hairspray onto the model in preparation for the chipping coat to be sprayed over the top. And I got part way through the spraying of the hairspray on the tank body, and then the compressor developed a fault. Another update on the tank, the T-34, which I've gotten back to now. The brown undercoat went on, which I think I filmed, and if I did, you'll have just seen it before this bit. If I didn't, I put a brown undercoat on it, in which case I completely forgot to film and show that, but I'm pretty sure I did, so hopefully you'll have seen that just before this bit, in which case you'll be wondering what I'm talking about, but I don't know, because if I have, that's already sort of sitting on the computer waiting for editing. So anyway, I'm waffling. Bit of an update. It's had the hairspray layers on, and it has had some olive green, which has been mixed with XF4, I think it is. XF4, which is yellow green, which is quite an odd little sort of colour. It's kind of that kind of colour. Although that's ever so slightly darker because there's a bit of olive green mixed in with that now. But as I'll just be essentially using that for tanks and for fading and what have you, I'm not particularly bothered about that. So olive green mixed with a bit of XF4 to make a sort of faded coat, so it's got a bit of a faded overall look to it, and you'll see it's ridiculously over chipped. I'm still not liking the hairspray thing. I tried it ages and ages ago and had a miserable failure with it then, and I've done it this time leaving less time for the acrylic to dry before I attacked it, and I think, to be honest, I've attacked it a bit too vigorously with the brush, using a stiff bristle brush, because using an ordinary bristle brush just doesn't seem to do anything. It seems to take forever to do anything, and truth be told, I just prefer other simpler methods of chipping, because this just I think I need much more practice at the hairspray chipping method, or the chipping fluid, as it were. So I thought as the first couple of bits I'd done just kind of chipped off way more than I intended anyway as I was working on the back section there. I thought, oh, stuff it, I'll just, really go for it. And then I'll kind of, I'll add some dust and a few rust streaks and everything later. So I've kind of attacked it vigorously, and we've got some seriously heavy chipping on the front mud guards and some really heavy scuffing on the front here, because my thinking would be this is where the driver hoiks himself in through the driver's hatch up here, which can't open at the moment, but it's that's not glued because that is going to be fixed. Open slightly, come on, there we go, like so, and that is going to be glued in the sort of open position like so. When I get round to it, you can possibly see in there some the seats. I'm just going to turn the turret around and pop it off. It's a very, very snug fit, despite the fact that I haven't actually painted around the thing. So in there I've muddied up the floor a little bit to make it look like it's been stomped around on with muddy Russian boots, and scratched up the floor in front of the driver's seat, and also the gunner's seat, which is probably a bit harder to see, to be fair. Just kind of dirtied that up a little bit and made the seats look a bit more dusty and what have you. And although that's not going to be massively visible, it'll give a little bit of internal visual interest. So there we are. This is where we're at the moment. The next step is going to be decals. So I'll be selecting a set of decals from the supplied sheet and putting on decals onto the tank, after which it will probably have a coat of clear or something similar, and then I will add a few little spots of sort of rust streaks and that kind of thing, just a few select ones here and there. Another thing I'm not particularly happy with this model are these little handles. The plastic is so brittle. Every single one of these is snapped, and of course it hasn't helped with me being a bit sort of harsh with the brush and whatnot. I think what I'm going to do is actually deliberately break off a couple of these before I get to the stage of completing, to make it look like these are broken off perhaps. I don't know, I've not decided yet. I might try and re-glue them back together. It's a little bit of a nuisance, but the plastic on these are so brittle, and I broke a lot of these just cutting them off the sprue. So these bits I'm not overly happy with. It's kind of nice to have the fine handles for the fine detail, but I'm not overly happy with. And then of course I have got the tools to put on and the spare track links to paint up and bits and pieces like that, and the sort of wooden stowage bits. But at the moment, this is just the main body that's been painted up. I've also got the rear engine cover there. I need to find some mesh for that yet, but I wanted to use proper mesh in that rather than the moulded in detail, which I didn't think looked very good. So and then there's the breech of the cannon as well, which also needs a bit more detail painting and just making it look a bit more like it belongs inside the turret, and then gluing in place. The wheels also had hairspray applied to them with the intentions of doing a little bit of chipping on them, but because it's obviously going to be hard to do subtle chipping, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to maybe sponge on a few little chips here and there once I've painted the road wheels, and then I'm just going to kind of dust them up, I think. So we'll see how that goes anyway. So that's where we're at. So in the next video it will be decals, a little bit more weathering, and then the application of the road wheels, and probably a flat coat. So join us in the next video, and thank you for watching.